Hello, world. Tonight's featured reader is David Rutiezer. David is the grandchild of Jewish immigrants. Grew up in Illinois and Massachusetts and lives in Portland. He has an MFA in creative writing and a TESL certificate, and tutors at Portland Community College and online. His debut poetry chapbook, Other Dances, was published in 2025. It's hot off the press. His poems have appeared in many anthologies, and he is a founding member of December First Writers. David enjoys singing and playing piano and ukulele for folks of all ages, and has recorded a children's album and volunteers at the Oregon Holocaust Memorial. Here is David Rutiezer.
How's about like this? Can people hear me, even in the back? Great. Thank you, Mark. This first poem I'm going to share with you is told through a series of snapshots. Berry picking. I haven't yet tape recorded the story of my mother's life. Mister keeps a brisk trot, and we compare him to our first dog. Length of legs, temperament, tolerance for heat. Both her grandfathers were killed by the Nazis. When we get to the garden, our patch beside the rumble of road, and hook the leash's loop around a stake, she shows me how to snip chard. Her uncle escaped to London and wrote letters to my grandma in a shaky hand. While she unearths beets, I search the raspberry bush. Strawberries are gem-like, but raspberries live past thorns. Her Chicago childhood abutted a neighborhood of poles. She pours from the stem. Only 2 beets have risen enough to be pulled, and then she's ready to go in shadows, dark as plums, ready to fall. Shots. My mother steps from the elevator on a high floor, trailing me behind her along curving halls within the cylindrical building until a door reads, Allergy Associates. Dr. Mellum, face round as a melon, voice like aged Gouda, tests me for ragweed or pollen, though usually I see the nurses. Pat, voice thick as cocoa and hair dark as olives, who lets the needle slip, or maybe I squirmed, slicing my skin to tight ribbons. Or the tall one, after Pat leaves, with fiery hair that licks the sides of her face like flame, then flattens at the top. She has cold hands. One time I have what's called a reaction, and my forearm swells balloon pink. But mostly, I pass time in the waiting room, littered with magazines, or in exam rooms, staring out angular windows, each one facing a different direction, as I try and fail to witness airplanes wheeling low as marionettes toward O'Hare, wondering how many feet higher I'd have to be to touch the people inside. something like shame. After several minutes of waiting, you finally raise your hand and call out, "Excuse me." And then the young waiter comes, glares, and says, "FYI, I don't respond to that." You remember being a child on a train where a gnarled brown man kept muttering, "Guff cuss, guff cuss," until pointing outside, and then you got it, and said, "Oh yes, that's a golf course." So proud for your understanding. And then he said, "Why you not shut up?" This is what they count on, for even a small part of you to believe you really are the mucus-nosed, spoiled brat the neighbor lady once called you. Your grandpa took you to the big game, though you hadn't wanted to go, and the home team won, and you rode home in his passenger seat, unworthy, with lint between your toes. So thank you all for having me. I'm so happy to be here. And special thank you to Mark Jansen for all he does for this series. And yeah, you mentioned the Salem Art Association. I used to work for them so my chapbook is Other Dances. I'm a folk dancer. This is not me on the cover. My editor chose that beautiful photograph. But I do dance, and I've taught folk dancing, as he may have mentioned. Taught international folk dancing across the Northwest, and used to work in the schools through the Salem Art Association, among other places. Yeah, and I'm planning to come for World Beat on Saturday, so maybe I'll see some of you down there. It's, I know they're having an event Friday evening, and then they're all day Saturday and all day Sunday. For those of you who haven't been, it's really a wonderful festival. I did bring copies of my book. You're welcome to look at them. Let's see. Yeah, and they're for sale, no pressure, but you're welcome to look at them. Let's see. I have my business card if you would like to keep in touch with me. I also have an email list, so if you want to find out what I'm doing, you're welcome. I left a pen there. You're welcome to write down your contact information. Oh, and yeah, I echo what everyone said about Don Colburn. If you do have the chance to come to Milwaukee, he's a wonderful poet. He wrote for the Oregonian for many years as a journalist, I believe. Let's see, next on my list is on page 22. In the West, March 1987. I had never seen red earth with deep green pines etched in snow. Over the pass and then down into Laramie. Suddenly, I was in the West, driving all the way from Iowa, where I'd been kicked out of college, to Oregon, where my mom had moved in the meantime, abandoning me. From Chicago, land of straight streets and exact diagonals, into the flat horizon, a city of blocks in two suburbs. I'd visited California and Oregon via plane. On the way to Oregon with my mom, we'd descended into Salt Lake City, marveling at multi-layered cliffs. But I had never really driven into the mountains. I was 18 and didn't think about politics. The ranches on either side with snow-capped mountains towering above them, with people in cowboy hats and jeans, felt exciting and patriotic. I listened to the only radio stations whose signals came in. Country. Someone named Earl Thomas Conley lamented, "Love don't care whose heart it breaks." I listened and sang along. My mom hadn't believed me when I told her. And Ichiro, my foreign exchange roommate from Tokyo, had asked, "Do you know what people are saying about you?" As I made my way west, I surely drove past the exact spot where, 13 years later, a young man the age I was now would hang beaten, bloodied, and burned from a fence post outside one of those ranches beneath those same imposing mountains for being gay like me. Sorry, I asked. Sunnyside, Washington, 2000. What kind of soup do you have? I asked. It's Friday, the waitress snapped. Her curt, close-lipped smile, her plaited hair the color of sand. Chowder, my much older boyfriend, a closeted Anglican priest, assumes out loud. Being Jewish, I had no idea. The only brew pub in this arid, bleached town. They've seated us as far apart from each other as possible at an out-of-the-way corner wraparound booth meant for a much larger party. When we're done with our lunch, she slaps the check on the table, says, "There you go," with the same prim smile, and is gone. Even my boyfriend mutters, "Jesus," under his breath. Back at the B&B, the married owners tell us they've never experienced service like this there before. A ceramic cat on their windowsill stares me down. She's probably never had to serve a male couple, I tell them, without adding, "And you wouldn't know, not being one." And as I say this, I sense my adult gay male body gather around me and zip myself shut. So I mentioned that the book is Other Dances, and so there are references throughout to my dancing life. This is from a folk dance teachers conference I went to in Seattle. Lillian, folk dances in a handmade dress, as green and purple as crayons, and decries the lack of sense in her fellow Idahoans. I didn't know splitting her Seattle hotel room would mean sharing a queen-sized bed, while she paused my chest, asking, "Why label yourself?" saying under the right conditions, she could easily love a woman instead of her rigid husband from the Department of Energy. When I tell her I've lived in Portland half my life, she cries, "Don't say that." And I have to clarify that I don't mean my life is half over. Grandma Bertha in tubes. I should mention, Mazel Tov is very good, for those of you who've never heard that expression. Grandma Bertha in tubes. Mount Prospect Care Home, September 30th, 2012. She who laughed when I got accepted to the MFA. When was I going to make a living? Not off poetry. Now that I've graduated, manages the skeletal mazel tov, fed intravenously, sunken as the wrinkled figs of her cheeks. When I mention folk dancing, she tells me she never liked ballet. Keeps referring to Grandpa High as my father, scrunches her nose at the mention of the doctor, wears a top of horizontal stripes in tulip colors, a habit she's developed to hide her boniness. When my father yells that she can't hear him, can she? She asks, "Didn't I tell you two goodbye already?" and rolls to face the window. Even the tree in the parking lot faces away. Even the Mexican nurse sucks in her breath in both languages. So, singing. Before the reading this evening, Lois Rosen here, we haven't seen each other in decades, but we were in the same program together, asked me if I was still singing, because she remembered I sang at assisted living and memory care communities for almost 15 years, and I also sang to children for about 3 years, as Mark alluded to. So I have to do this poem now, and I dedicate this to Lois, singing at Oldfield Estates. One perfectly coiffed lady with eyes so sky blue I could fly into them, smiles at me. We can both speak Spanish. She and I know some of the same people from the Jewish community. Her husband stares at a point where floor becomes wall. One lady with a bow mouth repeats, "Everybody sing," then never does. Another lady who always wears a winter coat mouths all the wrong words in perfect time. Later, I tell the elderly man who offers to help carry my keyboard to the car, "No, thank you," unsure if he's trying to escape. In the bathroom's slant light, I change back into my sweater and jeans. When I come back, everyone is gone but a cat. Outside, my mind shifts to mostly cloudy. I remember phone service providers, account balances. My face sets and hardens. I begin to remind myself this was real. I'm going to finish with 3 newer poems. Yeah. Dexterity. Has anyone here besides me fallen and broken your wrists? 4th and 5th metacarpal fracture. Right here. February 3rd, 2024. To have transmitted brainwaves of intent through the atoms of my arm and seen nothing. To have watched my dominant hand not even moving, still as a rock, as someone dead, as my dad used to subconsciously drape his own dominant hand over the passenger seat headrest, upturned, cupped almost, nearly close enough to feel my face, doing nothing particularly useful. Now, grateful when Dr. Yang shows me my x-rays, live and in person, asking me to pause, palm up, beneath her scanner to show me how everything's coming together. The hairline crack in my right hand from where I planted my face onto the sidewalk on North Killingsworth almost 2 months ago on my way to Cascade Festival of African Films, now nearly invisible on her radar screen. I lain on my couch reading through evenings when I knew my friends were out dancing. I've bought and worn the oversized button-down shirts, marveled at how I ever pulled on my Henley sweaters in all the conservative boy colors of room paint samples. I've needed someone to open my bottle of blood pressure meds, my peanut butter jars, my boxes of rice milk. I sign forms and even hold the chopsticks left-handed, a vestige of body memory from trying the M&M game. Or was it jelly beans at the Salem World Beat Festival, as I used chopsticks to lift them one by one from the plate and place them into that little paper bowl before the tiny toy hourglass ran out. My left thumb sprained, my right with its thumb forward position as I write. All that will have to wait. I'm practicing knowing how my mom's dad, Grandpa Jack, surely must have felt. His teacher, Time, his evil left hand behind him at his desk, just in case he tried something sneaky. I'm getting back to you, poetry, I promise. And when we do meet again, we'll share a good handshake, more manly and firm than I. But till then, I'll squeeze the prescribed putty, lift my appendages over my head, let you remind me of when we went with my father and my friends to the one-woman play with Margie Boulay as Texas Governor Ann Richards. And I watched him at the opposite end of our row, scrawling notes on little lemon yellow Post-its, still dog-eared from his pocket, and noticed fully, as if for the first time, how, when we write, my body has always been almost the exact counterpoint to his left hand a backwards comma, as we sat together, yet separated by the experiences of others, mirrors for each other, his hand wound, hooked, mine extricated, unspooled. So I thought I would share with you a short poem I haven't read in quite a while about what it was like coming from the Midwest to Portland, Oregon. Neighbors say, Jewish. It's all you ever talk about. Well, I'm sick of it. Madeline, a spindly, white-haired widow, hisses while rows of colored bottles glint from her windowsill. In this new land, I'm going into town means downtown Portland. Black ice is invisible. Fred Meyer is a place, not a person. And nutria is animal, not food. I visit Clara, a grandmother at the end of our block who's had 2 recent falls. David, you never tell me anything about your faith. I'm beginning to think you're not proud of yourself. Last one. Okay. So, and this has the epigraph, August 21st, 2017. Does that ring a bell for anyone? Remember what happened that day? Okay. The title will give it away.
Oh, yes, yes. Total solar eclipse. Yeah.
This is called Eclipsed. My father doesn't join me. Just arrived in Portland, as he does annually, from whatever ports of call or points on the globe have called him. Guatemala, South Carolina, Chicago. Up in time. Really? When's the next time we'll have this chance? So I drive alone, south out of Portland, through the sun-studded morning so clear we can all feel something spectacular building, intensifying in the electric air, past the campers parked on rural country roads, into Salem, where an amateur astronomer from Rose City Astronomers is scheduled to narrate the eclipse from the steps of the Oregon Capitol. And I watch with the thousands of others through our special glasses as the sky grows dim, then dimmer, and the bite out of the sun bigger, then bigger, until she tells us take off our glasses as a feathery heaven fans out like celestial wings, glimmering across the dark, visible to our suddenly naked eyes. That day, Corona is still a beautiful word.
Thank you, David. Wasn't that terrific? Okay. So we have two lists in the back, or on the left-hand side, whatever. One's for the open mic and one's for the mailing list. So if you want to be on the mailing list, you sign up on that list. And if you want to be in the open mic, you sign up on that list. There's some cookies back there, and there's some macaroons. I don't know what the cookies are. What are the cookies? I don't know. Anyway, eat them both. I'm not supposed to eat them all at the end, and so that's a problem. So we'll take a break. You'll eat the cookies and sign up on the list, and then we'll come back to the open mic.